Alright guys, here's another duel series for you. This is going to be featuring the Fire Earth deck I've been working on. I like to call it Sabin's Unbreakable, or for some of you, you can call it the Kings of Figaro. But yeah, so this is probably the last deck I'll be talking about before Opus 5. I've been meaning to share this with you guys for a little while, but things just kept coming up with the other, with all the new spoiler content and stuff like that. But you'll see in the video, this is the video of just how the deck plays. The three matchups that we're going to cover today, again against Mono Water, I believe it's Mono Ice, and then a Golbez deck. That's pretty much, those are the decks that we're playing here among my team and I. So this is what we have to test with. I do want to test it against other lightning builds and stuff like that, but yeah, the main thing that you guys want to think about when you're playing this deck is you kind of want to set up at least you need 2 to 3 backups or early on, and you want to try to get the Kefka H out, Kefka H backup as soon as possible. Well, going here, just looking at this first play here, my opponent opens Mog, and that is going to be a really good play. And you'll see here that I'm going to have to minus just to get rid of it. Yeah, he's playing my water deck, my old Mono Water deck, so that deck is going to be annoying to deal with. But anyway, so the main thing you want to do when you're thinking about this Fire Earth deck is that it's a little slow, which is why I like, which is my major concern with it, my major problem with it. I don't have any, I don't know how to fix it yet either. The main thing is that you want to get Sabin out and Kefka H. With Sabin out and the Kefka, you can pretty much swing, buff any forward you have by 5k with Kefka, and then eventually swing with Sabin and prevent it from being broken. This deck will also play Titan, it'll also play Vanille, and it's also going to play, I think those are the important ones. Oh, Lednar, the 2-cost forward as well. Those are all cards that have the term cannot be broken, or your opponent must pay or something to break, and it kind of creates a scenario where your opponent has to deal with, it creates a scenario where your opponent cannot deal with the forwards you have or create with the situations you've created, or the game state of the board. Dagaluma is also in there because it's another category 6, but also because he's just another annoying card to deal with. See here, even though I don't get to kill it because of Minwoo, but that would be one way of trading. So I'm thinking of bumping him up to 3. You guys will have the link to this deck at the end of the video and in the description, so please make sure to check it out if you want to see it. I will take any comments or any ideas on how to help improve this deck. I think it can be a very strong deck. I think it can definitely win games. I know I saw, I don't know where on FFTCG, but I did see it that it won a tournament, or a deck similar to this took first place in a tournament somewhere in the States. And it's just, like I said, I know it can do a lot of stuff. One of the main things that I have a problem with is just dealing with the early game. Well, mid to late game, this deck, Sabin's gonna protect everyone, and so is Titan and all the other stuff, Kefka. I did learn a lot of new combos while building this deck. You will be able to pump up Raban. So it plays the hero Raban from Opus 4. And what that does is that it is a forward that helps you deal with problems like Emperor, as you see here. But with Kefka, with the Kefka backup, you can pump it up to 1300, and it won't get 13k, and it won't get broken by its own effect. You can eventually swing with Sabin and protect it as well on the same turn, and that's just one of the many combos that this deck has. I will be going over the combo videos with you in the next deck, in the next deck profile, in the next video, the deck profile. And yeah, I guess I just want to talk about the matchup too. So normally I really think it would lose to this water deck, or if I was piloting my own water deck, but my Chibi here doesn't know exactly how to play water. He's getting used to it too. We're all learning, and especially since, you know, like I've mentioned before too, when you've been playing a deck for so long, you don't know what, you know, how to transition to other playstyles of other decks. Because remember, each color has its own playstyle, or at least it doesn't have to necessarily mean it's a predetermined playstyle, but it does have a way, a usual way of playing, and sometimes it's hard to stray away from that. But I think this deck, especially with Minwoo helps with some of the other stuff, like or Cecil helps deal with the Hecaton Shears and the Rabans, and that's kind of annoying. But you know, swinging over a Cecil isn't a problem. This deck does play Shantoto and the what's it called, the Bahamut, 4-cost Bahamut. But I'm still trying to find a way to make that, as much as I like it. The Bahamut sometimes underwhelming. It's the AK. The AK is strong sometimes to deal with threes. Usually the three cost forwards that are buffed, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just not enough, and I don't know. I want to maybe add Palom, you know, or any other fire cards that say, you know, deal more damage to it, but it's not deal more damage to that forward that turn. See, right there, I wouldn't drop Kegnazo. I think he had a Cecil. I would have definitely put Cecil instead, or Steiner. Even if even if your Steiner isn't gonna get you a plus, the draw card, you have to put it out there because it's just such a good forward. Cecil's something you want to save, and yeah, I know, I see what he has. You know, he has the Chukulain and the Astrologian, but I think that turn would have been better had he just brought out one of those. But yeah, going down a little further in this deck, so one of the main ideas is just you have Edgar for the EX burst to search out Sabin, because we can't play Gestalt Sid, and so he's your main searcher for the cards in the deck. I'm hoping eventually there'll be a fire and or earth searcher that lets us search any card, kind of like Merwib was for water. But until then, this deck, I don't see how I can increase the speed of this deck. I am playing the Deletas just because I want to protect Deleta. If Deleta can be unbroken or unbreakable as well, he's just another troublesome forward to deal with. But yeah, so like again, the main concept was I don't want to give my opponent any situation where he can deal with my forwards, and it just takes too long. I was playing Tama in there because you want to, sometimes I saw a play before where Devout would bring in Sabin, and Sabin would save, you know, my opponent, his other forward. But in this case, I have Tama for that same situation. I can use Tama pitch 4 to pitch Sabin to bring out Sabin. Sabin will when he's deployed, he chooses a forward, and that can't be broken this turn. And that would be, you know, that would be his purpose. I don't get to use it as often because, you know, playing other decks, they kind of deal with Sabin, or like he doesn't survive as long as I hope. He kind of has a big target on his head when he comes out on the board, I feel. And he doesn't really get to stay out, so I don't know how else to protect him short of making a fire water deck. But again, that doesn't really help me sometimes, or it doesn't help the format or the playstyle of this deck, because then I can't run Kefka, which is pretty much the whole thing. But yeah, so going back to the matchup, I don't think it would do good against this one. I get away with this game, I think, because of just because of plays and certain things that I can do. Having Scion keep Edgar and Sabin and Dataluma in the active, because they have Brave, gives them Brave, is also very strong. I suppose I could add Marsh as well in here for that reason, but I just think it's too clunky. So yeah, this is the idea, guys. I just you know, you're very open to help me work it out, talk about it. I don't know if you've played against it, if you've seen it. What are some of the matchups? You know, how did your deck do? What were you playing, and how did you do against it? These are all things I'm curious about. We don't get enough play testing here. I think we just started bringing our locals back, which is good. We have a total of about 11 players now. It's hard for everyone to get here, come play at the same time, but we have them, and eventually we'll be able to start having regular tournaments again, which is good. Here we're just arguing about what exactly Cagnazzo does and how much damage I need to do when he, in order for him to break. And it's also he's also discussing, I think, how it's on his turn he can't swing with it, because Cagnazzo's effect to reduce damage is only on your opponent's side, on your opponent's turn. See, and now he's reducing me to buff me, because I did activate Kefka, and because he blocked and I activated Kefka, and so now he has to reduce me in order to survive. I think he might have put him at 6, reduces me by, yeah, he lives. And then he Leviathans the Scion. And why did I put that there? I think I get it to my hand. Huh. That's an interesting one. See, this is what happens. Again, this is why we call it playtesting, guys. You don't want to, you want to make sure you get all these mistakes out. Like, when someone Leviathans your forward, you don't bring it back to you don't put it in the grave. You bring it back to your hand. I guess I never pick it back up. Very funny. I hadn't seen this one. I hadn't gone over this video yet with on my own yet. So yeah, and I think that shift is. Oh yeah, I summoned Sabin. I had to summon Sabin because I had buffed Edgar, and that was all still the same turn last turn. So. Yeah, and no wonder I minus real hard there, not getting rid of the Scion, not getting back the Scion. And so here he has the Cagnazzo again, the Cecil, but he has the Scholar. Do you guys ever get that idea of, you want to play test, but it'd be better to play test yourself? That happens sometimes. I think about that. Like a deck's supposed to play a certain way. And I wonder if, I know not everyone plays it the same, which is what I like about card games. Here he takes exactly 7 damage for it, and he responds with. Okay, so that's a good idea, something good to talk about for you guys, for those who don't know what just happened there. So when Vivi comes out, he says choose a forward, and then it deals damage to your opponent equal to 4k plus 1,000 for every card in their hand. Now, because he responded with Astrologian, he was able to pitch one of the cards in his hand in order to keep Garnet alive, so she did not take any damage that turn. Now remember, when that happens, the reason that happens is because when Vivi checks resolves, it checks the cards, and that's why he had 1 less, and he only took 6 instead of 7. I'm just counting out Cagnazzo here. I like how Vivi can become a much better chump blocker now. Also about this deck. So he does go to 9k with Kefka Age. I think now that I'm watching this and I think about it more, I think this deck could be like more like a mono fire deck, but I don't mean mono in the sense where I take out all the earth altogether, because that's beats the whole purpose. But it would be a fire deck with supported, like all the forwards would be fire. That'll let me play Lebrow, and get buff everybody up by 1k. It'll also let me play. It also let me minimize the stuff I need in this deck. Like I could take out the Pelennor and that whole thing, because that's the reason I was playing the Pelennor, and was because of Dataluma. So when Dataluma takes damage, you can deal 4k, and then Edgar's another forward that can you can exhaust him to deal 2k to one forward, and that'll be Dataluma if you ever get them both out at the same time. I can definitely take out the Deletas. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I can do for this deck. I'm gonna keep working on it. I definitely want to keep playing it. I haven't seen it. I do like the bomb, the one we talked about in the spoilers. The grenade, that card is definitely gonna see some play. I think I can definitely put that in this deck. I was originally playing some goblins in this deck for Sabin as well. That's another thing you guys can consider too when playing this deck. Remember, because when Sabin comes out, he chooses one to not be broken, and when he attacks, he chooses one not to be broken. So you can Tama him to get him out, and you can Goblin him to give him haste, or that way you get his effects when you need him on the turn he's summoned. And I'm at 6. Well, I've gotten him down to 6 at this point, so I think victory looks pretty good. The board is in my favor, I think, with Kefka and stuff. You can also Red Mage choose Kegnazel not to block, which I think is what he forgets right here. Or I think he just swings anyway. But he has Astrologian. Astrologian is what protects him. I don't know why he didn't play Palom or Porom there. No, Porom. I'm excited to see if there's going to be a Palom Porom deck with all the new legendaries. They have a legendary water and legendary fire, Palom and Porom. I do like the old one though. I went back and I saw its effect, and it's like it can deal a point of damage. I don't think there's another card that's done that up until now, but it's definitely very cool. So here you go. I'm gonna Raban up. I'll pump him just to keep him alive, like I've told you before. So my Raban will take. So it's dealing 9k to itself, but he is at 13, so he will live. And yeah. Oh, he's gonna stop it. No, because it'll only leave him at 9k with first strike. I have done that before, where I've had to buff Garnet to prevent her from getting. I guess he did it because he had to and there you go. Yeah, there's the Red Mage, can't block. And that's game. Yeah, I love Red Mage. Red Mage is such a cool card. People forget about it too. Sometimes I forget about that I have it. But anyway, that's the first game. The next one is Ice. I will let you guys watch that one, and I'll come back for the last couple as well. Alright guys, and this is game 3. This is against the Golbez deck. I guess I just want to go over some of the other cards I play in this deck. I mentioned earlier I do play the Vanillas with the 6 Hecaton Shears. I think I'm only playing 5 at the moment. I did start off playing all 6, but I felt like they got too cloggy. And there are games where I don't see any at all, which is funny. But yeah, there's the reason I play those is again because of the Vanille, but I do like the new Hecaton Shear because of the Raban. So one of the plays, I'll show you guys this in more detail in the deck profile. But so what Hecaton Shear does is that it lets you choose a forward and control, and choose one forward you control and one forward your opponent controls. Each forward deals damage equal to its power to each other. So Raban is already dealing 9k to someone, but when you buff it up, he lives his own effect, and then you can Hecaton Shear him against something else. So he'll be dealing 9k damage to when he comes out on deployment, and then he'll be dealing 13k to something else with a Hecaton Shear. Yeah, he will die, it's inevitable, but or you could just, you know, Titan him as well. You can Titan at some effect. It's a little, you know, costly to keep him alive, and it's unnecessary, but he will, one card does help you take out 2 cards. Of course, this requires you to have, you know, the Kefka and the Hecaton available, which is what I'm thinking about adding. I want to add Rydias to this deck, or maybe Terra, the light Terra. I do play Emperor at the moment, but the more I think about it, sometimes I don't need Emperor. Like, Emperor's a good card, but I don't need it. Like I mentioned in the spoilers video, I don't think Emperor's gonna see as much play as he used to, which is really good for water decks and a couple other decks, but there's gonna be other stuff to help you do that, like Hail Gigas and the grenade. But going further into the deck, like I mentioned, I did switch up and I am playing the Libros now, but I haven't changed the Earth count. I have to change the Earth count because it's just not viable at the way it is. I think that's my problem with playing multicolor decks, dual color decks, because I never know how to get their buffs out the right way, or which buff to choose, or if not to choose any. I know sometimes you don't play any for some decks, but I think unless you're playing Wind, because you have Maria, and I know that Earth Wind players are playing both Maria and Anacross, so yeah, I thought about playing Anacross and, you know, and Libro, but you already have enough high costing. You know, this deck requires you to get that Kefka, and that's already too many expensive backups. The summons are the Beliases and the Bahamut's pretty much. The 4-cost Bahamut's, I'm not playing the 9-cost one. It might be useful to play it, but you have Shentotos already. And those are already too expensive. I think that's what slows this deck down a little bit too sometimes, is how expensive things are. Like the Edgars are 5, to search your Sabins are 4. And then, yeah, you have the Kefka, and Dadalunas are 4 as well, Vanille's 4. If you want to get the break a backup, that's 3 CP. And then obviously Shentotos are just 7. I think that's what I can do to fix this. I might take off some of the effects and just add the invokers or whatever, the 1-cost CP backups, just to increase the efficiency of it, or just to speed it up a little bit. But so far, I like the way the deck plays. It doesn't win. I know the last 2 duels you saw they won, but I think it's funny that every time I'm recording with a new deck, I always win. But when I play outside, like at, you know, somewhere else or not off camera, I never win. So I guess I just try harder when I'm on a camera. I'm under the lens, under the microscope, as some would say. I'm over selfie as well as a backup. I do think that with the new 3-cost CP Momodi, I think her name was, from Opus 5, we're definitely gonna be able to keep forwards like Sabin active, or at least someone else, whoever I choose. But Sabin with Brave is great because he can swing, protect himself, and then just, you know, not stay there defensively for the next turn. I love that card. I can't wait to put it in all my Earth decks, honestly. Same thing with Dataluma, things like that. You just want to keep them. Same thing with Lednar if I felt like attacking. One of the cool plays with Lednar is that so Lednar reads when Lednar blocks or is blocked. If your opponent doesn't pay 2 CP, Lednar cannot be broken this turn. And the same applies when Lednar is chosen by a summoner ability. And my opponent doesn't pay the 2 CP, I cannot be broken. So yeah, so pretty much if they choose not to pay or if they choose to pay, I can just bump up with Kefka either way, and that'll put him at 10k, and that helps. I end up taking 2 CP away from him and buffing him and probably taking his forward away. So yeah, it's there's a lot of value here. There's a lot of ways to take away from your opponent in trades or when they're trying to trade or something like that. But Sabins took a while to get my hands on too. I love how they were super expensive. I'm sure their prices probably dropped by now, but he's still a great card to have. You guys, if you don't have your set, make sure to pick him up. When playing a Golbez deck, you want to try to keep your low cost forwards. I don't know if any of you build when you guys build decks, do you build according to the randoms too? Like I like to think that I have to have something for aggro, at least like one set of cards for the aggro and one set of cards for Golbez if I run into it, or one set of cards for water, or one set of cards for like ice or something like that. Or even one set of cards for lightning. Like when I was playing water, or actually let's go when I was playing ice. I had the Black Mage backup that when you could duel and sense the break zone to deal 4k to a duel forward. That would help against the aggro because if you're looking here, mine is 4k. I can deal it 4k when it attacks and remove it from the equation. People play Emperor. Emperor's that one card that helps you, get into all cards, any deck space really. And here I have Vivi is a good card to help you deal with forwards, but it's also a good card to stop stuff like Zidane and what's it called? Shimizu, the summon that lets all the forwards go through uncontested. And I don't know, I feel like when you're building a deck, that stuff's important. You always want to have maybe a 2 cost if you can fit it in there just to stop stuff. What's the Exodus? Exodus is another card in Lightning. I stopped playing only 3s and 4s in my water decks because Exodus is a card. I could literally just call, I would get all my whole board wiped, and that'd be annoying. Exodus is a really strong card, and it is the first of its kind, but it won't be the last, I'm sure. And so if you're playing too similar or too close of a range in your forwards, then they become targetable as well. They become liabilities, if you will. But yeah, so as you can see here, I have 2 3s and a 4. Edgar's and Delitas are 5. I think diversity in your forward cost is very important when building a deck, because you always have other decks that sometimes can play around that, or it benefits them for you to keep that range closer. I like this deck because I can do that. I have the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, and the 5s, and they all serve a purpose. Like Lednar is great against most things, but it also helps against those aggro decks because they do end up exhausting their hand sometimes, or burning that extra card, so they won't have CP to break them. And then in this case too, against Golbez, Lednar helps me block all his 2 costs if I need to. At least it helps me stay alive another turn, and sometimes that one turn makes the difference. Same thing with Guy. See, people play Guy because they want to not be dulled, or they want someone who's always active, or someone deals with dealing with ice. That was Earth's main thing. Always, you would always play 2 Guy. That was like a staple back then, when it was just him, and you didn't want to deal with ice. Oh, I remember. Here we're talking about unblockable. Now, I'm pretty sure, I would love all your confirmation for this, and I think we looked it up after, but if at least one of, when you team attack with 2 forwards, if one of them is blockable, then the whole team is blockable. Now I know there's only 2 rules that apply to, well, there's a few rules, but the ones that are always hard to remember, especially for me, are the unblockable way and the first strike thing. So when you're blocking, I let it go through because we didn't prove it, we didn't disprove it, I guess. But yeah, so as long as one forward is blockable in the team, the whole team is blockable. And if both forwards don't have first strike, then one of them does not pass on first strike to the party. Also, defending forward defending a team attack has first strike. It will only be able to kill one of the forwards. So I think the way we discussed that too, I think this happened to me recently, where if my opponent's forward has first strike and I team attack and he blocks, we do engage with the full force of it, but because of first strike, he deals damage to one of them only first. He has to choose to distribute the damage. So then he only gets hit with what's left. So it's not a really good idea to team attack into someone with first strike. And it's not a good idea to team attack unless both of your forwards are unblockable. The reason, I think here he tried to do that because he wanted to just sneak in damage and to draw the card, but that's not how it works. So you have to make sure you know what you guys know those effects. Always call the judge too. Don't let your opponent just tell you how it is. If you're not sure, call the judge, have him clarify. Same thing if your player next to you knows, don't assume, don't trust. Always just ask the judge when you're sure, because little things like that slip through the cracks all the time. Especially with it happens to me all the time, you know. It used to happen a lot when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. Those, I would be like, yeah, okay, fine, that's fine. Just like I was confident that I would win regardless, but then it would eat at me later that I just let, I didn't fight it or I didn't contest the ruling or whatever. And yeah, so going back to that one more time to cover it, unless both of your forwards are unblockable, the party is blockable. Remember that. Yeah, so I use Kefka there to prevent guy from being broken from Alcid. Yeah, I'm at 13, he deals 11, so it's not gonna matter. I'm not gonna be able to save him this turn. But that's something, you know, that's another way to help keep people alive. All I can think about too is right now is I'm just trying to figure out how to improve these decks, man. I mentioned in my spoilers video too earlier this week that I can't literally, I try to build the new deck and I can't, because I need to visualize, I need to see all those new cards in my hands to put them in there. I can't just, I don't know how you guys are with deck building. Me personally, I need to see the cards, which is why when I do deck profiles, I try to show the cards than just writing stuff. I just need to visualize it. That's just the way my brain works, I guess. But yeah, I want to fit in all those new cards that we see, all the ice stuff, you know, Doom Drain and Buckaroo and all that things. Even for this deck, I was trying to get it ready for Opus 5, but I can't. I can't leave the spaces there, and I can't visualize it. So I just have to wait. It's just a few weeks away. It's not gonna be that long, but I just can't build any new decks. So I'm just sticking with what I have right now. They're doing good. It's not that they're bad decks. It's just I want the new stuff already. Well, guys, this duel is almost over. You only got a few minutes left on the video. I do hope you'll enjoy this duel series. I will take all your feedback in the comments below. Tell me about both decks, what you guys see, what you didn't like, how to fix them. I'm always open to suggestions. I loved all the ideas you guys have thrown at me. I've definitely thought of them all and applied most of them to my decks. But yeah, that's it, and I will catch you guys later. One last thing, just make sure you guys go check the deck list so you can see all the exact cards I have in there and all the stuff, all the combos for the deck that the Earth Fire, Unbreakable Fire.